I've been thinking a lot about Qiuyuan's potential kit, and I believe that there is a pretty high chance that he might run into some issues if my theories about what he's going to do is true. Now first of all, I would like to discuss what my current theory is about what Qiuyuan is going to be doing, and I have a bunch of evidence to support my claims. I believe that Qiuyuan is going to be a dedicated buffer for echo skill damage. Now why do I think this? It's primarily based on the Law of Harmony set. One thing we know about echo sets in this game is that their name is usually related to the intended character in some way, at least for the newer sets. For example, we have the Crown of Valor set meant for Augusta and Yuno, which makes sense with their Septimonian nature. There's also Dream of the Lost, meant for Phrolova, and obviously tying to the Lost Beyond. And Law of Harmony very much sounds like something that Qiuyuan would use. Things like balance and harmony are very prevalent ideas within Asian cultures, and with Qiuyuan being seemingly from Jinzhou, this would be a pretty good set for him if we assume that those are in fact ideas that Qiuyuan does indeed like and mess with. More evidence that Qiuyuan is going to end up using Law of Harmony is the fact that Fenrico is an echo that deals arrow damage and buffs arrow damage, and Qiuyuan has now been confirmed to be an arrow character, which means that we can definitely assume that Qiuyuan ends up using the Law of Harmony. And if he does end up using the Law of Harmony, it means he will deal primarily heavy attack damage, as well as buff echo skills in some way. He would also have to cast echo skills a lot, as that is a very big part of this set's triggering requirements. This, combined with the fact that Galbrena is a fusion character who I believe is going to use the Kurosaur, and we have ourselves a character that is most likely going to be an echo skill buffer and already has a DPS to play with on launch. However, I believe that he is going to run into some problems. I already mentioned before that Galbrena is a fusion character, and that in itself is not a crime. But we have a big problem when it comes to supporting any type of fusion character. That problem is named Lupa. Lupa is an incredibly powerful character, and she was obviously meant for the monofusion core of Chongli, Brant, and Lupa. Yet, even outside of this team, Lupa ends up being an incredible buffer for any fusion character in the game. For example, Lupa still ends up being played with Brant's hypercarry despite not being able to fully utilize her buffs. Even more so, Lupa is also played with Encore for the exact same reason. Basically, any fusion character will be capable of abusing Lupa's buffs. The Lupa and Brant core is an incredibly powerful combination of characters for any fusion on-fielder. Brant just deals so much damage, and Lupa just buffs so much. It's gonna be incredibly hard for Qiuyuan to be a relevant pick for anyone who has the Brant and Lupa combination. Now, according to my theory, Galbrena is going to deal primarily echo skill damage. And is this going to be her entire kit? Well, there is a good chance. But if it's not her entire kit, then Qiuyuan might end up running into even more issues. You see, Fusion has buffers for almost every single damage type. The only one that doesn't have a great sub DPS is Liberation, but even then, I can't really call Chongli a bad character. We have Mortefi for heavy attacks, Lupa for basics, and we have Brand for skills. So realistically, how is Qiuyuan going to be capable of outclassing the absolute combination of Lupa and any of these fusion characters? Well, one way to do it would be to make it so Galbrena does basically only echo damage. But even if this is the case, well, let's be completely honest here, the Brant and Lupa combination simply deals so much personal damage that, honestly, I think that even if she does basically only echo damage, this combination is most likely still going to be competitive with running Qiuyuan. So honestly, what value is Qiuyuan going to have? First of all, well, let's be real here. How many people here got Lupa? And let's be real here again, how many of you got Brant? I don't think that many of you have both Lupa and Brant. So I do believe that if you have neither of these, it's just way more efficient to grab a Qiuyuan. Let's be completely honest here. Qiuyuan's one character, Brant and Lupa are two that both want their weapons. Qiuyuan is going to be a more efficient pull, assuming you're starting from scratch. But if you're not starting from scratch, that's where Qiuyuan starts to have a little bit of issues. To speak a little bit more in Qiuyuan's good graces, considering that he is an arrow character and Galbrena is a fusion character, we're most likely going to be getting another Yuno situation, where instead of buffing an attribute and a damage type, Qiuyuan is mostly going to put all of his baskets into the one damage type. which means that he's going to be good with anyone who deals primarily echo damage. It doesn't matter what attribute. He'll most likely be the go-to echo skill damage buffer in the game. Meaning that for anyone who wants to invest into the echo skill meta, Qiuyuan would be a pretty good pickup. Now, the one challenge that does come with this is that we don't really have that many echo skill damage dealers. And if most of his buffing is gonna come from an outro skill, even the one other echo skill DPS that we have, being Phrolova, wouldn't be able to benefit that much off of Qiuyuan's outro skill. Obviously, the Law of Harmony set would dictate that Qiuyuan does primarily heavy attack damage himself, which would mean that you are still able to stick him into the team instead of Rochia. You'd still be able to benefit off of the team-wide echo skill damage buff that the Law of Harmony set gives. But if he wants to truly solidify himself within a Phrolova team, he would most likely need to have more buffing in his kit in order to truly work with Phrolova. If it truly is purely an outro skill, I don't think he's going to replace Rochia within the Phrolova team. Rochia has a team-wide attack buff, as well as majorly buffing Cantarella and getting buffed a lot by Phrolova, more than Qiuyuan would be. So yeah, Qiuyuan might have some issues slotting into a Phrolova team over Rochia, but let's be honest here, how many of us here got Rochia for their Phrolova? But I want to dive a bit more into how few echo skill damage dealers we actually have. If Qiuyuan does end up being entirely tied to echo damage, he might end up being a pretty niche support. While it definitely seems like Kuro Games is trying to invest more into echo skills as a damage type, I don't think it's going to go as far as the traditional heavy, basic, liberation, and skill damage dealers. We'll most likely get an echo skill damage dealer every once in a while, but I truly do not believe that they're going to come out at the frequency of the regular damage types. It's most likely going to be a gimmick like negative status, that they really only dive into at some points. We got Phoebe Zani and Shakona Cardathea in a row, and then they calmed down on the negative status. So I assume we're most likely going to be calming down on echo skills after Qiuyuan and Galbrena release. So much like his potential involvement within a Phrolova team, Qiuyuan would really need some built-in buffs for his kit in order to truly make himself usable outside of echo skill teams. But just how many buffs can he give the team before he starts becoming absolutely broken? Kuro Games will really need to be able to balance his ability to work in different teams, while still making it so he's not completely overpowered. But that's enough doom and gloom. It's still all based on my speculations and assumption based on already in-game information. Qiuyuan's kit could end up being completely different from what I imagine. But there is one thing that is certain. He is an arrow character. And if there's anything I know about arrow characters, it's that they will be able to be main DPS'd as long as you have Shakona and her signature. Because, well, let me tell ya, Shakona, her signature, and Arrow Rover are one of the most dummy good cores when it comes to DPSing just about anyone. So even if he does end up being an echo skill buffing sub-DPS, all of those who want to play main DPS Qiuyuan are likely going to be completely fine running the standard error erosion comp. And since the Law of Harmony suggests he's doing primarily heavy attack damage, you could potentially also pivot into a team with Yuno or with Mortefi. If you want to DPS Qiuyuan, I do believe that simply because he is arrow, and because he's going to be doing primarily heavy attack damage, there will be a way to main DPS him. The one thing that does need to happen in order for his main DPS strategy to work is for him to be able to properly extend his rotation to the point where he has enough damage per rotation to truly be called a main DPS. But even if this is not the case, you can simply play him with the sub-DPS rotation and still just act as if he's the main DPS by buffing him. That's most likely going to be completely fine. Outside of Whimpering Wastes, Wuthering Waves is truly not that much of a challenge. If you want to main DPS him, at least within tower, simply because he's arrow and he has access to Shakona Arrow Rover, this is most likely going to work completely fine. But those are just my thoughts. What do you think Qiuyuan is going to do? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, you can contact me in my Discord server, which is linked in the description. Additionally, if you want to just see more of me as a person, you can also follow the link in the description to check out my second channel, in which I primarily talk about PGR but kinda just make videos about whatever I feel like. But that'll be all from me. Peace.